right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome. I'm Roger Fredinburg, radio's regular guy. This program is a presentation of the Talk Radio Network and your local station. Continuing with part 6 this evening in our ongoing series, The Holocaust We Must Remember. Fascinating stories, just some wonderful history. I've learned so much the last several weeks and been brought to literally to tears so many times. It's a difficult subject, I know. But that's the whole purpose, ladies and gentlemen, is to ensure that the kind of tragedies and horrible, inhumane acts that were perpetrated upon mankind during World War II should never happen again. I've been reading today a book that has brought me to laughter and tears a number of times, written by a son about the experiences of his mother and father who were resistors, Jewish resistors in Poland during the time of the war. Fascinating story. And I'd like immediately to bring these folks forward and introduce them. First, the son, Larry Sutin, who wrote the book Jack and Rochelle, A Holocaust Story of Love and Resistance. Larry, welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you. Thanks for having us.
It's really a pleasure to have you here, sir, and also want to welcome Jack and Rochelle Sutin, who, of course, are the subjects of the book. Jack, Rochelle, hello.
Yes, hello. Hello, nice.
Pleasure to have you folks aboard. Larry, first of all, you wrote the book because of the compelling stories you heard throughout your life as a child. Is that what precipitated this?
I had grown up hearing the stories of my parents' childhoods, and then their work as partisans during the war, their struggle, I should say. And also, as you say, some stories that were very happy stories, but also a great deal of tragedy. But the whole added up to what I thought was not only just a touching story, but important history. The fact that there was Jewish resistance during the war is something that people are still relatively unaware of. And my parents had the good fortune to be able to find themselves in a situation where they could resist. Many Jews didn't have that good fortune, but they did find themselves in that situation after a great deal of misery, and they resisted, and they also fell in love during the war. So there was that aspect too. There was a genuine love story of what I felt was depth, not just because they were my parents, but because I think readers of the book have confirmed that there's something about the nature of their love story that's quite unique as well.
Yeah, well, I find it rather fascinating, Larry, that a lot of sons of World War II heroes and things have gone on to write books about the historical events.
Mm-hmm.
Just an aside, but I think it's interesting, and you've done a wonderful job with the book. What I'd like to do is meet your folks, I think kind of in the same vein as the book's written. I'd like to talk to Rochelle first, your mother. Rochelle, hello.
Yes, hello.
Now, Rochelle, where were you born, and where did you grow up?
I was born in a little town. It was before the war. It was a border town between Poland and Russia. It was called Stopce.
Stopce.
Yep.
Uh-huh. And you lived your
my whole life I lived there, yeah.
Yes. And Jack, how about you? Where were you from?
I was actually born in Stopce too, but when I was about 6, 7 years old, my parents moved to a neighboring city called Mir, M-I-R.
Yes. All right. Now, did you guys know each other as kids?
Well, after the Soviet Army occupied us in 1939, we went to the same high school in Stopce. We knew each other from just, like other kids. We didn't have any special relationship or nothing between us. We just knew each other. Just as kids going to the same high school.
Ah, no love at first sight.
No love at first sight.
So, how old were the two of you then when the war broke out?
Well, I was 14.
Wow. And so, how long did you were you able to stay together with your family until things, for lack of a better term, until all hell broke loose?
My father was taken right away in a couple days. They picked up the most prominent Jews in town, and they took them away, they told us that they're going to be holding them as hostages. But of course, later on I found out that they killed them the same day. They told them to dig their own grave, and they stoned them to death. They didn't even use bullets on them.
Oh, Lord. But you didn't know that at the time?
No. At the time, as a matter of fact, the guy that arrested them was coming a couple times and asked for his clothing. That was end of summer, for clothing, for winter clothing, for his medication, supposedly that he needed it. So we were completely,
So you had a mother and siblings?
Yeah, I had a mother and two more sisters. I was the oldest.
Okay. And Jack, how about you?
Well, I had a mother, father, but no brothers and sisters, but our family was consisted of about 16 people. I had uncles and
Jack, please,
cousins and so on.
Jack, speak right into your phone, just to get really close, because you're kind of fading on me, okay?
Okay, can you hear me better?
That's better, thank you.
Yeah.
And so you didn't have any brothers and sisters. Now were your parents assaulted initially in... Jack?
I'm sorry?
Your parents, were they taken away or anything initially? Or?
Yeah, when the first liquidation of the ghetto started, my mother was a dentist, and originally they told her that they won't kill her because they need a dentist for the population and for the German army. But somehow the local police managed to get into the house and they killed her. And my father and myself ran away before the second liquidation.
Ran away to where?
To the woods, underground.
All right. Now, people are not familiar with resistors. Really, the stories have not been told in any great way in this country, especially. But at that time, you were more hiding than resisting?
That's right. In the beginning, the groups that were in the woods, there was Jews that ran away from after the first liquidation or the second, and then there were Russian army personnel that they treated them very badly when they caught them, and they ran away to the woods too, from the camps. So it was just bunches of people that had to run away to save their lives.
All right, now...
It wasn't organized right away.
Right. So Jack, you were out in the woods. Rochelle, where were you at this time?
I was in the ghetto.
You were in the ghetto?
Yeah.
All right. So they hadn't come in and taken you yet, obviously, and your mother and your sisters?
No, the ghetto was formed in the 42, right away after the New Year's of 41. 42, I'm sorry.
Yeah, moving in the brand new year.
Yeah.
1942.
Yeah.
And so then how did you ended up also, as I read the book, out in the woods, so to speak, and so maybe you could help me. How did you end up there?
Well, they put us all in the ghetto, and then they started liquidating the ghetto the day after Yom Kippur in 42.
All right, define liquidating.
Huh?
What do you mean by
that? That means that you will woke up in the morning, the ghetto was surrounded by trucks with SS and local police, and nobody could get out from there. They just let out a couple dozen people to work. I don't know what the idea was behind that. And right away they started putting them on the trucks, and the graves were dug the night before, and they were taking them to the graves and tell them to undress, and they were machine gun them. As every truck was coming, they were liquidating them. And that took place almost a whole day.
That's kind of a cold term, liquidating.
Well, that's what it was.
I guess it is expressive.
Yeah.
So then how were you able to avoid being liquidated?
Well, I was working in a sawmill, and at that time that I had to come out to the entrance to the ghetto every morning, a German used to come and pick us up and take us to the factory. And I walked out from the house and went, and I understood right away what was going on. I ran home and talked to my mother and two sisters, and they knew what's coming. And I don't know how I did it, but I had double feelings. First, I thought I should stay with them and go with them. And then I guess the will to live was stronger, and I said goodbye to them, and I went to the place where he used to pick us up, and he picked us up, the whole group that worked in the sawmill, and took us to work.
You should clarify, it was forced labor at the hand of the Nazis to make wooden planks. They weren't working in a private sawmill.
No, it was forced labor.
Yeah, so they first pushed everyone in the ghettos, then began liquidating, and then worked people that they thought had some skill or could provide some
service.
Yeah, service.
Yeah.
So you're working in a sawmill, and at what point did you decide that you couldn't go back home?
Well, they didn't take us back to the ghetto the same day, because they were still going through with police and with dogs sniffing out maybe there were survivors there. So for a couple of days they took us to some undisclosed place and kept us there overnight. And I was sure that when we were working that day at the sawmill, as it happens, the highway that was coming from the ghetto to the graves was crossing by the sawmill. So all day long I heard the trucks coming and the screams and the crying from the people that were taken to the graves. And then every so often I could hear the machine guns, ta-ta-ta-ta-ta, and then it got quiet and new buses were coming in. And I never forget the scene when the buses were coming back to the ghetto to pick up new people. The local population was standing on the sidewalks and clapping their hands.
The Polish folks.
Yeah, the Belarus and Polish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They were clapping as the trucks went by to
laughing, and it was like applauding the empty trucks.
You're kidding me.
No, I'm not kidding you.
But they knew that these people were being taken to a place where they were shot and killed?
Oh, absolutely. They waited for that, because as soon as they liquidated the ghetto, first the Germans went through, and there was nothing there already because they took everything of value before we went to the ghetto. But first the SS and the police went through the homes, and then they just let the regular population go in and take miserable little things like pillows and blankets and maybe a pot and pan. It was like a celebration in town.
Now,
and they didn't take us to the ghetto back till it was all cleaned out, and they just consolidated a couple homes where they kept the survivors.
Now, was it your take at the time that they were celebrating and applauding and doing this because they wanted the Jews killed, or was
it? Absolutely.
But weren't Jewish people just part of the community?
Because most of them, they had their sons or brothers in the police, and they knew what's coming up.
But they weren't doing it for their own survival. You're saying they actually were enjoying this.
Oh, they enjoyed it. Yeah, that was.
So the community, the people of your town, would stand there on the sidewalk or alongside the road and clap as the trucks went by, taking Jews off to be killed.
Yeah.
So, Jack, while all this was going on, what were you doing out in the woods?
Well, I organized a little group of 14 people, and that was already late in the year, around September, and we had to find a
Jack,
shelter.
please speak right into your phone.
Yeah.
Yes. Go ahead.
We had to build a shelter for the winter months. So we built a bunker about the size 12 by 16 feet. And one evening, while I was sleeping, I had a dream. My mother was talking to me, and she said that Rochelle will come to the woods and will remain together and stay together. And when I woke up, I didn't know if it's something to take seriously or it's just a foolish dream. But I decided to build an extra space for Rochelle. And make the story short, the way it happened, the miracle happened when she ran away to the woods. She was in the woods for quite a while, and finally she ran into a Jewish partisan girl that knew me, and she knew that I was waiting for her, and she brought her to our bunker. And since then, we stayed together, and we're fighting together, and survived together.
All right, so you had I get chills thinking about this vision you had, Jack. That's not typical, but it's fascinating. So, Rochelle, you obviously at some point in time went into the woods.
Yes.
And what did you first do?
Well, after I didn't know it. I thought that my family was killed the same day when the liquidation was. I didn't know that they hid with some other families in a hole under a house that was under a sofa, and they were there for about a week. And every day they would bring new people that they missed the first time, with dogs and with all kind of things to sniff them out. Then one day, it was a week after the original liquidation, a guy that I went to school together came to the sawmill when I was working, and he called me in because there was not a good thing to talk to me, and he told me that he knew my family. He says, I just walked by your whole family, your mother, your sisters, your aunts, and cousins. They caught them all today. They're sitting there. And the way they worked, they used to combine the groups that they were finding all through the day till about sunset. And this day's group, then they used to put them on the truck and take them again to the mass grave. So I knew that my family was killed a week after the original liquidation.
All right, and you decided to get...
Well, after that, I knew that I have nothing. I knew that they're going to kill the rest of us too, and I was the provider then. I was bringing the little pieces of wood for the stove and things I could scrounge. So I had nobody to take care of or to worry about, and I knew they're going to kill us. So near the sawmill was a river. It's called the River Yemen. And then there was some forest around. So one foggy morning, when we came to the sawmill to work, about 5 minutes before the machine started working, we could go to the outhouse, which was a little bit removed, and do our job. And I worked with another Jewish girl there, and I told her that that's what I'm planning to do if she would agree. And she says, yeah, I'll go with you. So we went to the outhouse, and it was very foggy, and then like a big whistle, it was a sign that we have to go back to work. And we got under the barbed wire, and we started running. The river wasn't too far, and as soon as we started running, I could hear machine guns going. But fortunately, they didn't have any trucks or jeeps, so the police was running after us on motorcycles and bicycles. So we jumped into the river, we took off the jackets and the shoes, and we swam to the river, and the bullets were kind of splashing all over us, and we crossed the river, and right on the other side was a forest, and we ran fast to the forest. That was in September, about 2 weeks after Yom Kippur. I don't remember the date. But At night there was a good frost already, and during the day it was still a little bit warm.
And here you were wet and
I was wet,
cold
and then at
hungry
night,
and lost and alone.
at night the clothing and everything used to get frozen. We couldn't even move. We were like in a ice suit. So we were in the morning. We tried to stay in the sun and to thaw out the clothing.
Now, you weren't worried about the Nazis following you at that point?
We didn't. Well, they were following us, but if they didn't catch us the first day, at that time they were not too keen to run to the woods, especially after two Jewish girls. I'm sure they thought that the cold and the hunger and their local population would take care of us.
All right, listen, I've got to take a commercial break. If you all will just hang tight here for a minute, we'll come back and continue this fascinating story, okay? Hold on for a bit.
Yeah.